Have you been to the grocery store lately and done a double take at the egg prices? Because same. What used to be one of the most affordable proteins you could buy has become one of the most expensive items in the cart. A dozen eggs hit over $8 in early 2025, and even now that prices have come down a bit, eggs are still way pricier than they used to be. And if you've been leaning on eggs as your main protein source, your grocery bill is probably feeling it. Here's the thing though, eggs are great, but they are not the only show in town. There are foods out there that are cheaper per gram of protein, pack just as much nutritional punch, and are honestly way more versatile in the kitchen. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which ones they are and how to actually use them. If this is something you've been wondering about, like, what do I even buy now? Drop a comment below right now and let me know. I read every single one. My name is Gig Nurse, and I'm a health educator. Let's get into it. So before we jump into the list, let's talk quickly about why protein matters so much in the first place, because I want you to understand the why behind what you're putting in your body. Protein is involved in pretty much everything your body does. It builds and repairs muscle tissue. It makes the enzymes that run your metabolism. It keeps your immune system functioning. It produces hormones. And critically, it keeps you full. High-protein meals slow digestion and suppress the hunger hormone ghrelin, which means you're less likely to be raiding the pantry an hour after eating. The recommended dietary allowance is about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. But if you're active, trying to build muscle, or managing your weight, you likely need more than that. Now, one large egg gives you about 6 grams of protein. That's solid. But at today's prices, you're paying somewhere between 40 and 60 cents per egg depending on where you live and what kind you buy. When we're comparing protein sources, the number that actually matters is the cost per gram of protein, not just the sticker price on the package. So let's go through the alternatives that beat eggs on that metric. First up, canned tuna. This is honestly one of the most underrated budget proteins out there. A standard 5-ounce can of tuna packed in water runs about $1, sometimes less if you buy store brand, and it gives you roughly 22 grams of protein. Do that math. You're getting almost 4 times the protein of a single egg for the same price or less. Tuna is also a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs, but can't make on its own. Now, you've probably heard people mention mercury in canned fish, and that's worth knowing about. Light tuna, which is usually skipjack, tends to be lower in mercury than white or albacore tuna. If you're eating canned tuna a few times a week, light tuna is the smarter choice. The FDA recommends limiting higher mercury fish for pregnant people and young children especially, but for most adults eating it a few times a week, light canned tuna is considered safe and nutritious. Next on the list, lentils. And look, I know what some of you are thinking. Lentils? Really? But hear me out, because lentils are kind of extraordinary once you understand what they are. 1 cup of cooked lentils delivers about 18 grams of protein and costs you roughly 20 to 30 cents. They're also one of the best plant-based fiber sources you'll find, and fiber is something most of us are seriously undereating. The fiber in lentils feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, helps regulate blood sugar, and supports heart health. Now, lentils are what's called an incomplete protein, meaning they're lower in one specific amino acid called methionine. But here's the workaround, and it's actually delicious. Eat lentils with a grain, rice, bread, quinoa, and your body gets a complete amino acid profile across the meal. You don't even need to eat them at the same time. As long as you're getting variety throughout the day, you're good. Let's talk about canned sardines, because if you're sleeping on sardines, you are seriously missing out. Half a cup of sardines gives you about 18 grams of protein, and it can cost around $1 to $1.50. They're also loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, and vitamin D, nutrients that are surprisingly hard to get from food alone. If the idea of sardines feels intimidating, start simple. Sardines packed in olive oil with a squeeze of lemon and some chopped herbs on toast. That's genuinely good. The flavor is milder than people expect, especially if you're buying good quality ones. Now let's talk about something people really underestimate: cottage cheese. 1 cup of cottage cheese gives you close to 24 grams of protein. That's more than 4 eggs, and you can find a container for around $3 at most stores, which works out to under 50 cents per serving depending on the size you buy. Cottage cheese also contains something called casein protein, which digests slowly. That means it keeps you full for longer compared to faster digesting proteins. It's incredibly versatile. You can eat it savory with veggies and everything bagel seasoning, or sweet with fruit and a drizzle of honey. You can blend it smooth and use it as a base for dips and sauces, or stir it into scrambled eggs to make them creamier and more filling. Ground turkey is another one worth putting in regular rotation. 3 ounces of lean ground turkey gives you roughly 22 grams of protein, and you can usually find it for around $3 to $4 a pound. Compared to ground beef, it tends to be cheaper and lower in saturated fat while delivering similar protein content. It works in pretty much any recipe that calls for ground meat, tacos, stir-fries, pasta sauces, meal prep bowls. Buy it in bulk when it's on sale and freeze it in portions. Let's talk about black beans, because beans in general are the budget protein champion of the plant world. Half a cup of cooked black beans has about 7 grams of protein and costs you almost nothing, especially if you're buying dried beans and cooking them yourself. A 1-pound bag of dried black beans can cost under $2 and makes multiple meals worth of food. Research has also shown that black beans contain compounds that help regulate blood sugar and insulin response, which is a nice bonus. Like lentils, beans are incomplete proteins, so pair them with a grain for the full amino acid profile. The classic rice and beans combination has been a nutritional staple across cultures for centuries for exactly this reason. And finally, let's talk about Greek yogurt. Plain, full-fat or low-fat Greek yogurt runs around $1 to $2 per serving depending on whether you're buying individual cups or a larger container, and gives you roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein depending on the brand. The protein in Greek yogurt is also a mix of whey and casein, so it digests at a moderate rate and keeps you satisfied. It's also a fermented food, which means it naturally contains live cultures that support gut health and digestion. Use it in place of sour cream, blend it into smoothies, use it as a base for salad dressings, or just eat it with some fruit and a handful of nuts for a genuinely solid breakfast or snack. Now here's a practical framework for how to actually use this information, because knowing about these foods is one thing, but building it into your weekly routine is another. The key is to stop thinking about protein as a single food decision and start thinking about it as a system. Rotate through 4 or 5 of these staples throughout the week so you don't get bored. Keep a few shelf-stable options: canned tuna, sardines, lentils, beans, stocked at all times so you always have a protein source even when you haven't gone grocery shopping. Buy store-brand versions of yogurt and cottage cheese to cut costs further. Buy dried lentils and beans rather than canned when you have time to cook them. And if you do want to keep eggs in your rotation, go for it. They're still nutritious, and prices have come back down from their peak. They just don't have to be your only option anymore. One thing worth repeating: if you're getting most of your protein from plant-based sources like beans and lentils, make sure you're eating a variety throughout the day so your body is getting all the essential amino acids it needs. This is easier than it sounds because most whole grains, when combined with legumes, cover all the bases naturally. So to recap, canned tuna, lentils, sardines, cottage cheese, ground turkey, black beans, and Greek yogurt are all cheaper per gram of protein than eggs at current prices. They're all nutritious, and they're all genuinely easy to cook with and enjoy. You don't have to overhaul your entire diet. Just start adding 1 or 2 of these into your weekly rotation and build from there. If you found this helpful and want more content about eating well without spending a fortune, go ahead and subscribe. I'm here to make nutrition feel accessible and practical, because everyone deserves to feel good in their body without having to figure it all out alone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.